Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing IGCSE Chemistry Feb-March 2024 and this is the MCQ paper, paper 2. Now let's start with the first question. Solid X is heated for 600 seconds. The graph shows the heating curve that is obtained. Alright. What is the melting point? So we know that melting is when solid changes to liquid. And during the state change, temperature does not change. When state change is happening, when melting is happening, the temperature will stay constant. So we know that initially it was a solid. Now in this region, it must be getting converted to solid to liquid. So at what temperature is it starting? It is starting at nearly 170 degrees Celsius. So correct answer will be B. Next question. Which statement about diffusion are correct? Aqueous ions cannot diffuse in water. Diffusion is caused by random movement of particles. This is correct. Particles spread out in all directions in diffusion. This is also correct. Diffusion can only take place in solids and liquids. No, this is incorrect. It takes place in gases as well. In fact, diffusion is the most prominent in gases only. So statement 2 and 3 are correct, means option C will be the correct one. Now, which statement about an atom of fluorine is correct? So we can clearly see here that the proton number is 9 and the neutron number is 19 minus 9, which is 10. Alright. It contains a total of 28 protons, neutrons and electrons. We know that in an atom, number of protons is the same as number of electrons. So protons are 9, electrons are 9 and what is the number of neutrons? It is 10. It is adding up to be 28. So this statement is correct. It contains more protons than neutrons. Protons are 9, neutrons are 10. This is incorrect. Its isotopes contain different number of protons. No, isotopes contain same number of protons but different number of neutrons. Incorrect. It contains 9 neutrons. No, it contains 10. So that is why answer will be A. Next question. Two of the isotopes of calcium are given. Which statement explains why they have the identical chemical properties? For this, there is only one single reason, that isotopes have the same electronic structure or the same electronic configuration, and the chemical properties depend upon the electronic configuration. Which option should be correct? Option number B. Now, which statement describes a property of potassium iodide? It is insoluble in water. No. It's an ionic compound. Ionic compounds are soluble in water. It is a volatile substance. Volatile means which gets vaporized easily. So no, it is not a volatile substance. Ionic compounds have a high melting point, so this is also incorrect. It conducts electricity when molten. Ionic compounds, when they are molten, so they dissociate into ions. They form ions. Then they can carry the charge. So D will be the correct one. Next question. Methanol CH2O has a boiling point of negative 19 degrees Celsius. At negative 20, the liquid methanol is a non-conductor of electricity. Alright. In a sample of methanol, each atom of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen has noble gas. Each atom has achieved electronic configuration in one of the three ways: gaining electrons, losing electrons, sharing electrons. Since all three of them are not ionic, covalent in nature, most likely the answer will be that they are sharing electrons. So ions are not possible in covalent compounds. CD automatically gets cut. Now, carbon atom and oxygen atom share 4 electrons. Carbon and oxygen share 4 electrons. And methanol's structure looks like this. So we can say carbon 2 electrons here, 1 here, 1 here. Hydrogen 1 electron here, another here. Oxygen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So carbon is sharing 2, oxygen is sharing 2. So they are sharing 4 electrons here. Means this is the correct statement. Now, moving on to the next question. Question number 7. This is a question about diamond and graphite, and they're asking which statement is correct. Alright. Diamond and graphite contain strong covalent bond between the carbon atoms. Yes, this is true. Diamond and graphite have delocalized electrons. Only diamond has delocalized electrons. Sorry, only graphite has delocalized electrons. Diamonds, all the bonds are occupied. All the 4 electrons are used up in bonding. So graphite is a conductor of electricity, diamond is not. Diamond and graphite have layered structures. No. Graphite has a layered structure, diamond does not. Diamond and graphite have low melting points. This is absolutely wrong. Both have high melting points. Diamond has the higher range, even higher than graphite. Question number 8. Which row is a description of a metallic bonding? Now, metallic bonding is defined as the strong electrostatic forces of attraction where the metal cations, or you could say positive ions, are in a sea of delocalized electrons. So it is a lattice of positive ions in a sea of delocalized electrons, lattice of positive ions in a sea of delocalized electrons. So automatically A and C gets cut. How is negative ions possible? Negative ions are made by non-metals, but we are talking about metals here. So A and B is out of the picture. Now we have to check. A metal will react with acid forming hydrogen. This is a correct statement. Mg plus HCl will give you MgCl2 plus hydrogen gas. A piece of metal can be molded into different shapes. A piece of metal can be molded into different shapes. This statement is also correct. So both the statements are correct. Now we have to check, is the property explained by the reasoning? Is this a reason that metal produces hydrogen by reacting with acid? Is this a reason why the bonding is strong? Why the bonding is like this? No. But since we know that positive ions are there, they can slide over each other and it can be molded into different shapes. So option number D will be the correct. I'm repeating again, this statement, a metal will react, this statement is correct, but it does not justify why metallic bonding is taking place, why metallic bonding is required. That is why we went with option number D. Now, next question. What is the relative molecular mass of sulfur dioxide? We know that sulfur dioxide has a formula of SO2. Sulfur has a mass of 32, oxygen is 16. So 16 times 2. This will be 64. Answer is D. Next question. Magnetite is an ore of iron which contains ions like Fe2 plus and O2 minus. So see, first of all, when you combine Fe2 with with a charge of 2, it will become Fe2O2, which can be simplified to write down FeO. Is this one of the options? No. And you have to combine them. How? See. Now Fe also has a charge of 3, oxygen 2. This will form Fe2O3. Is this the formula of magnetite? No. This is the formula of hematite. But for magnetite, this was the compound that was possible from the given ions, and this is the another compound which is possible. You combine both of them, the answer will come out to be Fe3O4. Fe3O4, that is why option D is the correct one. Now, question 11. Concentrated aqueous sodium chloride and dilute sulfuric acid. So, see, first of all, for any dilute solution, you should remember that at anode, oxygen will be the product. Just remember it for the solving the question. For any dilute solution at anode, oxygen will always be the product. So for dilute sulfuric acid and for anode, in dilute sulfuric acid, there is only one positive ion. There is only one cation, that is H plus only. So ultimately, the product will be hydrogen only. Oxygen is not possible at cathode. In this question, they're asking for cathode. Now, for aqueous NaCl, so see, for aqueous NaCl, how do we pick? Because it contains ions from NaCl, that is Na plus Cl minus. But since it is aqueous, it will also have ions present from water, H plus and OH minus. Now we have to pick that what will be the equation at cathode. For this, there is a simple rule out there that the less reactive cation goes to cathode. So which is the less reactive one? Hydrogen. So option B will be the correct one. Question number 12. Electrolysis can be broken down by, electrolytes can be broken down by electrolysis. Which row is correct? Okay, so see, now they've given you a dilute solution, and I told you that for dilute, any type of dilute solution, it could be dilute NaCl, dilute H2, so for any dilute, product at anode will always be oxygen. So is this saying oxygen? Yes, this is correct. Let's check the product at cathode. Since this is dilute aqueous potassium chloride, so it will have K plus, Cl minus, and since it is aqueous, it will also have H plus and OH minus. So for cathode, again the same rule out there that less reactive cation. Which one is less reactive? K plus or H plus? H plus. So the equation will be 2H plus 2 electrons giving H2. Is this the correct equation? Yes. So statement A is correct. Now, concentrated HCl, it only has H plus and Cl minus. It only has H plus and Cl minus. So H plus equation will form at cathode and chlorine will be the product at anode. This statement is also correct. So we can directly say option A will be the correct one. Still, just for better conceptual clarity, let's try the other options as well. Molten aluminum oxide. Aluminum oxide is Al2O3. It has Al3 plus and O2 minus. Reaction at cathode, first of all, anions, the negative ions do not go to cathode, they go to anode. So this is wrong here. Concentrated aqueous sodium bromide. Now see, let me first of all just erase this. So they're saying concentrated aqueous sodium bromide. So it is Na plus, Br minus. Since it is aqueous, it will also have H plus and OH minus. Now you yourself can tell me which ion will go to the cathode. Less reactive one or more reactive one? Less reactive one. Is sodium less reactive or hydrogen less reactive? According to me, hydrogen is less reactive. So this itself is wrong. That is why statement A, the option A is correct. Question number 13. Which statement about the hydrogen oxygen fuel cell is correct? Hydrogen is extracted from clean air. No, it is derived from natural gas or electrolysis. The only product is carbon dioxide in hydrogen oxygen fuel cells. No, this is also incorrect. The reaction is endothermic. It's a cell which produces energy. It will fuel up your car. It will provide energy. So it releases energy. This is also incorrect. No toxic gases are produced. This is correct. Hydrogen oxygen fuel cell is a clean fuel. So no toxic gases are produced. This is the correct statement. So option D will be the correct one. Which statement defines the activation energy? We know that activation energy is the minimum amount of energy that the colliding particles or the reacting particles must have to react. So statement A justifies it. Option A justifies it. It is the minimum energy. Endothermic reaction? No. Activation energy is required in both endo as well as exo. So option B is incorrect. It is the maximum energy that exothermic reactions transfer. Still see, they're specifying it. It applies to exo as well as endo. That is why incorrect. Is it the maximum energy? No, it is the minimum energy. So remove this. Option A will be correct. Now we have a calculation question here. We simply have to count the bonds. They're asking the enthalpy change when 1 mole. So we have to make sure of this that we do it with respect to 1 mole. Now I'll tell you what to do here. Enthalpy change you can find out by doing reactants minus product in terms of energy. So what I'll do here is I will count all the bonds on the reactant side. According to me, there is 4 carbon hydrogen bonds and 2 carbon triple bond carbon and 5 oxygen double bond oxygen on the reactant side. Now let's also count for product side. In the product side, we have 8 carbon double bond oxygen. Why? Just think about it. This is a single CO2 molecule. How many bonds can you see here? How many carbon double bond oxygen can you see here? In a single molecule, I can see 2 carbon double bond oxygen. So in 4 molecules, how many will be there? 8 plus. Now see, this is a single H2O molecule. How many oxygen single bonded to hydrogen can you see? 2. So in 2 molecules, how many will be there? 4. So 4 oxygen hydrogen bonds. Now you simply have to add all of these here. So just give me a minute. 4 carbon hydrogen bonds. What is the energy of carbon hydrogen bond? 415. All right. Then 2 times carbon double bond carbon will be 837 plus 5 times oxygen double bond oxygen. That will be 498. So it is coming out to be 5834 kilojoules. Alright, now let's do the same for products. I will do 8 times the energy of carbon double bond oxygen, that is 8 times 805 plus 4 times oxygen hydrogen bond, that is 464. So this is coming out to be 8296. Now what do? We subtract both of them, reactant minus product. So 5834 minus 8296. It's coming out to be 2462 kilojoules negative. So is this the answer? No. They're asking for 1 mole and look at the reactant here. It is for 2 moles. So you divide the answer, you divide negative 2462 by 2. So negative 1, 2, 3, 1. 1236 will be the answer. I might have made some calculation error, but rounding off nearly answer, this will be the answer. 15th B. There is some calculation mistake here, just find it out. The answer is still correct. It is option number B. Now, question 16. In experiment 1, small lumps of limestone are added to dilute ethanoic acid at 40 degrees Celsius. Alright. Which change? See, they're simply asking that initially my experiment was looking like this. It had a very good rate of reaction. The slope is very high here. Slope is good. But somehow the rate of reaction decreased. The slope decreased. And now it looks like experiment 2, the dotted ray. So they're asking what changes were there which led me to the experiment 2. So see, rate of reaction is less. Large lumps might have been used, because if you use powder or smaller lumps, that will increase the rate of reaction. So in that case, the gradient will even be more. But they're asking why rate of reaction decreased. So large lumps might have been used, right? And temperature, is there a temperature that they're mentioning below 40 degrees? No. So we'll pick 40 degrees. Option A is the correct one. In Haber's process, nitrogen and hydrogen, for this you simply need to remember that higher pressure favors the side with less gaseous molecules. Now, there is one gas molecule here, 3, total 4 on the reactant side. On the product side, there is 2. So if you increase the pressure, the equilibrium shifts to the side with less gaseous molecules, which is the forward side. So yield will increase because of high pressure. So option C and D eliminated. Now we have to finalize between temperature high or low. For this, we need to remember that this is exothermic process, and in exothermic processes, if temperature is increased, reaction goes to the backward side, and if temperature is decreased, it goes to the forward side, that is the product side. And if you're going to the product side, means you're going towards ammonia, so ammonia will increase. So temperature should be low, pressure should be high. Correct answer will be option number B. The Oswald process is used to make nitric acid. All right. A catalyst containing transition element. All right. So they're simply asking which of these conditions are also used in the contact process. We know that in contact process, the temperature is 450 degrees Celsius, pressure is different than 10 atm, and a transition metal is used. So only statement A is correct. Option number B will be the correct answer. Question 19. Hydrogen iodide is dissolved in water. All right. They're simply asking you that litmus paper is also there and acidified potassium magnet is also there. So what happens to them? Now, see, since we know that hydrogen ions are being released here, so we can say the medium is getting acidic. And if the medium is getting acidic, the litmus paper will stay red. So option C or D, A and B gets eliminated. Because of hydrogen ions presence, I could cancel out A and B because hydrogen ions represent acidic medium. And in acidic medium, litmus paper stays red. Alright. Now, what about acidified aqueous potassium magnet? Acidified aqueous potassium magnet is a oxidizing agent. This is a oxidizing agent and it is used to test for reducing agent. Iodide ion here is a reducing agent, and when reducing agent is present, it goes from colorless to brown. So the color of potassium manganate changes from colorless to brown. So that is why option C will be the correct one. Which statement about aqueous ethanoic acid are correct? It can be produced by oxidizing ethanol with potassium iodide. It reacts with magnesium to form hydrogen gas. This is correct. It has approximate pH of value of 3. Alright, this is correct because it's a weak acid, so pH is on the higher range. It produces esters called methanoids. No, see, the point is ethanoic, all the carboxylic acids react with different alcohols to form esters. But those esters do not have to be methanoids only. They can be ethanoid, propanoid, butanoid, pentanoid, hexanoid, so on. So that is why statement 4 is also incorrect. And it can be produced by oxidizing ethanol with potassium iodide. No, this is also not possible. So statement 2 and 3 will be the correct one. Which element forms an acidic oxide? For this, we know that non-metals form acidic oxide. So you simply have to pick up the non-metal, that is sulfur. Metals form basic oxides, non-metals form acidic oxides. Question 22. Which statement describes the properties of hydrochloric acid? When hydrochloric acid reacts with limestone, CO2 is produced. Limestone is CaCO3 plus HCl. This definitely gives you CaCl2 plus H2O plus CO2. So this statement is correct. Hydrogen is produced when sodium hydroxide reacts with HCl. No, this is a neutralization reaction, and in neutralization reactions, H2O is formed, not hydrogen gas. Incorrect. Methyl orange turns yellow in strong hydrochloric acid. No, it turns reddish orange, red you can say. Incorrect. Red litmus paper turns blue. No, hydrochloric acid is an acid. Litmus paper turns red in acids. Incorrect. So that is why option A is correct. Next question. Element P and Q have the same number of electron shells. Now see, when they have same number of valence electrons, see, when same number of valence electrons are there, they belong to the same group. But when same number of shells is there, they belong to the same period. So P and Q are in the same period. This statement is correct. Let's check the other two. One is automatically incorrect. P has a greater tendency to form positive ions. Now see, if P is a metal, it will have a tendency to form positive ions. And they've written here that an atom of Q has more electrons. Now see, if atom of Q has more electrons and they are in the same period, so we can assume, let's say the second period, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. This is the period number 2. The first two are metals. So now, if they are saying that atom Q has more electrons than the P, so most likely atom Q must be towards the right side of the periodic table. And if it is towards the right side of the periodic table, means it might be a non-metal. And if it is a non-metal, it would prefer gaining electrons, right? So if Q has more electrons, it gives us the idea that Q must be in the right side of the periodic table. And if it is at the right side of the periodic table, it must be a non-metal. And non-metals form negative ions. But since P has less electrons, so it must be towards the left hand side. So it will form positive ions. Statement 2 and 3 are the correct ones. So option C is correct. Now, question number 24. Which substances react with dilute sulfuric acid to form a salt that can be removed from the resulting mixture by filtration? So they have given us the hint here that you can remove the salt by filtration. Now, what kind of salts are removed by filtration? Insoluble salts. Insoluble salts are removed by filtration. So what should we react with H2SO4 to get an insoluble salt? If you react it with barium chloride, you will get barium sulfate as one of the salts, and we know that majority of the sulfates are soluble except 2 3 exceptions, and one of the exception is barium sulfate. How do I know this? You can remember this by looking at the syllabus guide, IGCSE Chemistry syllabus guide. There they will tell you which salt is soluble, which one is insoluble. All right. So barium sulfate is the insoluble salt. So we will pick option number A. Now, if you, let's say if you want to go with the option B, NaOH plus H2SO4, this will form Na2SO4 salt. Is this insoluble? No. Na2SO4 is a soluble salt. And same with C or D, they will also form soluble salts, but you needed an insoluble salt here. That is why option A is the correct one. Now, next question. Astatine is below iodine. All right. We know that fluorine is there, chlorine is there, bromine, then iodine, then astatine. And we know that as we go down, they start getting denser, and astatine is a solid. And as we go from top to down, the reactivity in halogens decreases. Means fluorine is more reactive than chlorine, chlorine is more reactive than bromine, bromine is more reactive than iodine, and iodine is more reactive than astatine. So astatine is the least reactive. Astatine cannot displace any one of them. Answer will be D. It does not displace chlorine, bromine, iodine because they are more reactive than astatine. In halogens, the reactivity from top to down decreases. It is the opposite of what happens with metals. In metals, especially group 1, group 2, the reactivity increase from top to bottom. But in halogens, it decreases from top to bottom. Which property of copper explains why it is classified as a transition metal? So we know that there are 3 4 properties out there. They form colored compounds, they have variable oxidation states, high melting point, high boiling point. It can be bent into different shapes. No. A lot of the other metals can also be bent into different shapes. Copper forms copper 2 plus and copper 1 plus ions. Yes, variable oxidation states, this is telling. Copper is a good conductor of electricity. Not exactly a transition element property. Then copper has low density. No, it does not have low density. So the correct answer will be option number B. Alright, now let's start with question number 27. Brass is an alloy that is formed from copper and zinc. Alright. Brass, copper, zinc all conduct electricity. Brass is a compound of copper and zinc. It is not a compound, it is an alloy. So statement 2 is incorrect. Brass is harder than this. Yes, you're making alloys, you're combining 2 3 metals together, you're combining 2 3 metals together to get the best properties out of them. Someone might be a good conductor, the other metal might be very hard, very strong. So alloys are made to get the best out of each metal. So statement 3 is correct. Now, brass, copper and zinc all conduct electricity. Yes, this is also correct. So statement 1 and 3 are correct. So option C is the correct answer. The equation for reaction of metal M with zinc sulfate is shown, which explains why. Alright, so first of all, we can see here that metal has displaced zinc. So this M metal is clearly more reactive than zinc. Alright. Zinc is less reactive because M is able to accept electrons. See, metals do not accept electrons, they lose electrons. Option A is incorrect. Zinc is a more powerful reducing agent. Now they're just trying to trick you here. Reducing agent means the one which is getting oxidized. The one which is getting oxidized. And oxidation is loss of electrons. So zinc is a more powerful reducing agent than M. They're trying to say that zinc loses electrons faster than M. No, that is not correct. The more reactive metal loses electrons faster. So this is losing electrons. The capital M is losing electrons. Option B is incorrect. Zinc is more reactive. This is again a wrong statement. Metal M is more reactive. So what are we left with? We are left with option number D. Now I'll explain option D to you as well. Although this is the correct answer, let's still try to understand this. Zinc ions can remove electrons from M. Now just think about it. Oxidation is loss. So they're simply telling you that Zn2 plus ions can oxidize M. Right? Zinc ions can remove electrons from M, and removing electrons is oxidation. So they're saying zinc plus ions can oxidize M, means zinc must be getting reduced. The one which oxidizes the other thing itself, it gets reduced. So it is getting reduced. And what is reduced? Reduction is gain of electrons. Now we simply need to check whether zinc is gaining electrons or not. See, in compound, zinc is +2. And in elemental form it is 0. So it is going from +2 to 0. Is it gaining electrons? Yes. So statement D is the correct one. In a blast furnace, silicon oxide, which equation represents the formation of substance which reacts with silicon oxide? So there are 5 equations out there in our syllabus, all in series. The last equation is calcium oxide reacting with silicon dioxide to form CaSiO3, which is slag. So with SiO2, what do you need? Calcium oxide. Option C is the correct answer. Now, question number 30. Aluminium is extracted from bauxite by electrolysis. Which statement is correct? Aluminium ions are oxidized to form aluminium. See, this statement is incorrect. Aluminium ions gain electrons to form aluminium, right? This is gaining electrons. And reduction is gain of electrons. So they're saying oxidation, incorrect. You can remember the mnemonic oil rig. Oxidation is loss, reduction is gain. Here you are gaining, not losing. So statement A is incorrect. Cathode has to be replaced regularly because it reacts with oxygen. See, if in place of cathode they had written anode, then this statement would have been correct. Because oxygen forms at anode and the anode is made up of carbon. So it also reacts with carbon to form CO2. That is why the anode needs to be replaced regularly. Now they're saying CO2 is produced at anode. Yes, this is correct. Cryolite is added to remove impurities. No. Cryolite is added to decrease the melting point to make it more cost effective. If you're decreasing the melting point, less temperature will be required. So it will be more economical, more cost effective. Option C is the correct one here. Iron rusts, but aluminium does not. We know this, that aluminium has a layer of oxide on it. So now they're asking which statement explains why aluminium does not easily corrode. So most of us already know the answer. It is protected by a layer of oxide, and the layer of oxide is aluminium oxide. So option D is the correct one. Aluminium is an alloy? No. It is below iron in the reactivity series? I don't think so. It is a transition metal? No, aluminium is not a transition metal. Which chemicals can be used as a fertilizer? So for this, in our syllabus, we simply need to know that a compound having nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, all three will be the best fertilizer. Now in option A, you can see no nitrogen and you can see potassium. So two elements are here. In option B, you can see nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. All three required elements are here. Option C, nitrogen, phosphorus. Is there a potassium? No. So only two elements are here in this. And option D, nitrogen, potassium only. So only two. So which one has the most required elements? B. Option B is the best fertilizer, best chemical. What is the color change when water is added to anhydrous cobalt chloride? So, now for this, we need to remember there are two hydrous anhydrous color changes in our syllabus that we should remember. One is the cobalt chloride one. So, cobalt chloride, I'll just write CoCl2. When you remove water from it, so I can say minus H2O, it turns to anhydrous form. So, anhydrous form, that is blue. And cobalt chloride in hydrous form is pink. So when you are adding water, it will turn pink. So it will turn from blue to pink. The answer correct will be B. And also for copper sulfate, you should remember CuSO4. When you remove water from it, it turns white. But when you add water to it, it turns blue. So in cobalt chloride, if you add water, it turns pink. And in copper sulfate, if you add water, it turns blue. Here they were only asking for cobalt chloride, so option B will be the correct one. 34. How does carbon dioxide and methane cause global warming? We know that they absorb the radiation, they absorb the radiation and they emit it back into the earth. Carbon dioxide and methane absorb the radiation and emit it back into the earth. Alright? So they emit the thermal energy they have absorbed back to the earth. This statement is correct. They absorb the radiation directly from the sun, not directly. They increase the thermal energy lost to space, no. If they're decreasing the thermal energy lost to space, then the problem of global warming would not be there. Global warming itself means that these greenhouse gases are capturing the heat and they're uh, reflecting, emitting back to us. So statement C is incorrect. They reduce reflection of thermal energy from Earth's surface. No. Statement A is the correct one. Next question. Four statements about photosynthesis are listed. Chlorophyll is required. Yes, it is required. Why is it required? Because it provides green color first of all. It provides green color and it helps to convert the light energy from sun to the chemical energy. Light energy from sun to the chemical energy, chlorophyll helps in that. So chlorophyll is the most important one. Equation for photosynthesis is this. Now see, they have written glucose as a reactant here, but photosynthesis itself is production of glucose, so it must be in the product side. This equation is wrong. The reverse of this equation will be the photosynthesis equation. 6CO2 plus 6H2O gives C6H12O6 plus 6O2. This is the equation of photosynthesis. The one they have given you here, this is for respiration. So statement 2 incorrect. Photosynthesis requires energy from sunlight. Yes. Photosynthesis releases CO2. Look at this equation. Is it releasing CO2 or using CO2? Using CO2. So statements 1 and 3 are correct. Means option number A is correct. 36. Which molecules are structural isomers? Alright. Let's check the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 carbon atoms are there and 12 hydrogens are there. So let's count the one with 5 carbon atoms and 12 hydrogens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 12 hydrogens. So 1 and 3 are the structural isomers. Now you can also check this in a way by naming them. See, if the molecular formula comes out to be the same, if molecular formula comes out to the same, but the name is different, then these will be isomers. Now, if you try to name this compound, the name will be 2-methyl butane. And if you try to name this one, the name will be 2,2 dimethyl propane. So the molecular formula is same, but the name is different, so isomers. Also the structure looks different, that is why as well. Which statement about reaction of ethene and steam are correct? So see, ethene and steam are reacted to form ethanol, alcohol. And how it happens is C double bond C, single bond hydrogen reacts with H2O. From H2O, H and OH, the bond gets broken. So C single bond C, H, H, OH attaches itself here, one H attaches itself here. OH attaches itself here and the other H attaches itself here. There must be one more hydrogen here. So hydrogen, hydrogen. In the original ethene molecule, there must be two hydrogens per carbon atom. So this is what I have drawn. Then now you get this formula, that is ethanol. So the product has a higher molecular mass than ethane. You can check, it is correct. You can count the masses and it will come out to be the higher one. The product reacts with aqueous bromine. The ones with double bond react with aqueous bromine. Unsaturated molecules react with aqueous bromine. Right? So this is incorrect. The number of electrons shared between carbon atoms decreases. Now see, you can just simply check that they have two bonds here and here single bond is there, right? If you have single bond here and double bond there, so less sharing is there now. So 1 and 4 are the correct answer. Sorry, 1 and 3 is the correct answer. The reaction produces alcohol and hydrogen. It does produce alcohol, but hydrogen no. Hydrogen gets formed in the alcohol only. This hydrogen was from H2O only. All right. So option 1 and 3, statement 1 and 3. So option B is the correct one. 38. Methane and chlorine react to form chloromethane. This is a substitution reaction and we need to remember the condition. It requires ultraviolet sunlight. So option A is the correct one. Parts of the structure of two different polymers X and Y are shown. All right. Which row about the monomers and the linkages? See, first of all, the linkage is same. This is amide linkage, this is amide linkage, right? So the linkage in X are the same as linkage in Y. The linkage, all right. So we can pick between B and D. The linkage is same. Amide link is there between both of them. Now you have to figure out the monomers. Now, how do we figure out the monomers? You can break the molecules from the linkage. So you can break it like this. And here as well, just split from the linkage. Now just see on your own, is this monomer appearing to be the same as any one of these monomers? Look, this monomer has carbon double bond oxygen only. And this one only has nitrogen, hydrogen, nitrogen, hydrogen. But this one is a mixture of both. So are the monomers same? No, monomers are not same. So option B will be the correct one. Last question. Substance Q is tested using paper chromatography. All right. The resulting chromatogram is shown. Right. Which statement is correct? Q is a pure substance. The RF value of, all right, Q is a mixture. See, we can see two different spots here. So definitely it contains more than two substances or at least two substances. So C is the correct one. Q is a compound of two elements. No. Q is a pure substance. If it was a pure substance, then chromatography would not have showed anything. The RF value of the lower spot is 0.25. No, this is also not possible. The option C will be the correct one.